Welcome to the Bloomz on Tour, a unique and exciting art challenge between 7 talented artists from 4 countries over 7 months. The Bloomz Arthouse Collective is a group of brilliant artists from around the globe, united in their passion for creating stunning art, but divided by the fact that they each work in their own very different artistic medium. So, how would these artists cope if they had to break out of their comfort zones and create pieces of art using the media, processes and techniques of their fellow Bloomz artists? Well, you're going to find this out in these Bloomz on Tour episodes. Now, art is for everyone to try and to enjoy. So how about having a go at these challenges yourself at home? All the details of each task featured in the episodes can be found at thebloomz.co.uk after each episode has aired. You'll have great fun trying different forms of art, and the Bloomz artists will also happily give you encouragement as well as feedback and advice on your creations. In this episode, we travel to West Sussex in the UK, where the challenge is set by the Bloomz brilliant landscape oils artist Fiona Hooper. Let's hear from Fiona and then see how everyone survives the task that she set.
Hello, I'm Fiona Hooper, a West Sussex UK based landscape painter. And my work is inspired by the beauty of nature, such as forests, mountains, coastlines, lakes, and my aim is to try and capture and translate that beauty onto my canvas. And my medium for doing that is oil paints, and I normally work using painting knives instead of brushes. I find they just give a different energy to the painting. And I'm here in my studio to tell you about the challenge I have set for Bloomz on Tour. My challenge is to create a painting inspired by the beauty of nature, so a landscape painting, and that painting is to be in oils and painted with knives. So when I say knives, they're not like kitchen knives, they are painting knives with a cranked handle, maybe a medium one and a smaller one. So you only need about 7 different colours, a warm and a cool, each of red, yellow and blue, plus maybe a darker earth colour, a dark brown, and of course for oil painting, white. Lots of white. Good luck everybody, look forward to seeing what you do.
The first step in each challenge is for the artists to open the envelopes they received from their task-setting colleague. Exciting or terrifying? Let's find out.
Ready, steady, open! Oh, the knives!
No brushes allowed.
Yes! I saw some knives in town the other day and I was like, whoa! I'd like to get back for them. Excellent.
No brushes allowed.
Yay!
Painting
You're
knives.
killing me already.
Sammy, that was no brushes. I can see on your face. You're thinking, how can I get round that? No.
How can I make a brush mark look like a knife mark, says Sam.
You're killing me. I love a brush. Live without my brushes.
Right. Fiona, is there any specific size knives we need for these size canvases?
That's a good question.
I would probably don't go for anything really too small, because you can make quite small marks with a big knife as well, just using the tip of it. I would probably go for something about 1.5 inches long, the blade.
Thin stick.
Celebrating the beauty of the natural world. Oh, Lordy.
Oh, look at those knives.
All right, okay.
Oh, yummy.
Right, now you don't need all this many knives. Okay, so first of all, there are 2 types, main types of knives. There are ones that are flat all along.
Mm-hmm.
This is more like a palette knife for cleaning your palette and mixing maybe. And then you have a different type which have a cranked handle. So it comes along, curves down, and that is much easier for keeping your knuckles, fingers out of the paint that you've already put on the canvas. You do get other flat ones, so the blade's flat that way, but it's angled so that you can then apply the paint like that, or with this shorter edge. And again, you don't have your hands in the paint that you've applied. So that's a different type. And two knives should be absolutely plenty for doing this exercise. I would recommend that you do choose metal knives. There are some plastic ones on the market, but I don't find that they work anywhere near as well.
Right.
And don't forget, you can use knives not just for putting the paint on, but for taking paint off. So if you've got an area that's not working, you don't like it, you can use the knife to scrape the paint off. It'll still leave a bit of paint on the canvas, but then it gives a better surface to rework on top of that. Or you might want to use it for scratching some lines into the paint.
I have a set of these and I use them for my wax painting, exactly that, scratching in.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be interesting using them for the proper application.
Put the paint on.
Using them very different.
So you just wipe it off with the clean up after knife painting is amazing. You just you use the knife to scrape as much paint off the palette as you can. I then use paper towel to clean the knife, and also in between, if you're putting some paint down, you change colour. You don't need to change knives. You just wipe the blade, the towel, pick up your clean colour, apply it. Sometimes you might want to pick up two colours at the same time on your knife and apply them together. It gets some lovely effects. Wipe with paper towel in between. And for cleaning the palette, I use a wooden palette, so I'll scrape it with the knives first to get most of the paint off, and then I just basically wipe off the rest of the paint and polish it with the cloth. If you're using, you can buy these disposable palettes, paper sheets that you use, you just tear one off and bin it, so no problem at all with cleaning up from that one. But if you have a wooden palette, I don't use any solvent on it. I don't use, in fact, it's not on the list. Solvent or mediums are not on the list because I don't normally use them when I paint with knives at all. Colour straight from the tube onto the palette, no medium, knife into the colour, mix if you need to. Sometimes it's better not to mix too much, so you get that little bit of broken colouredness coming in and straight onto the canvas.
Okay. So Fiona, what sort of time frame are we looking at drying time then, if you're not using any mediums or anything to aid that?
Right, I mean, if you want to, if you've got some fast drying medium, like some alkyd medium, you can use that to speed up drying time. The other alternative is if you don't have any paints, oil paints at the moment, there are makes of alkyd paints, which are oils with some alkyd medium already added in. So you're not adding too much, it's already in the paint, and that speeds up the drying time a lot.
Oh,
There's some
alkyd, did you say?
Yeah, alkyd. So Winsor & Newton do a range called Griffin, which are alkyd based or oil paints with some alkyd resin already mixed in. They're actually fairly reasonable compared with a lot of oil paints. They are artist quality, so they'll be light fast as well. As I say, they are quite reasonable in price compared with some.
If you want to create transparency, how do you create that without adding a solvent?
Well, you would need to make sure that you're using a transparent colour to start with. Something like alizarin crimson is transparent, ultramarine blue, transparent. Raw sienna's fairly transparent. It's not totally, it's semi-opaque. The cadmium colours are generally opaque, so you wouldn't want to use one of those. But on the tubes of paint, and on the colour charts, it tells you which ones are transparent and which ones are semi and which ones are opaque.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have a time frame on creating this piece?
I would suggest that you get everything together, you do your research about what you'd like to paint, what's inspiring you from the natural world around you or where you've been. Maybe do some sketches, thumbnail sketches to plan your composition. Although with knife painting, be prepared that what you aim for at the start, you may just end up with something rather different, because it can lead you in different paths while you're actually doing the painting. Painting can sometimes take you down a different route. But when you're using knives, especially if you're going to use either the alkyd paints or an alkyd medium with them, in which case even fairly thick paint should be dry within a few days, or touch dry within a few days. I would suggest that you set aside a day, if it's hot weather, a morning or an afternoon, and you actually complete the painting in one go. Otherwise, once your paint starts drying and then you try to add more or change things with the knife, it gets very difficult because you can't move the paint around if it's started to dry. You might get some good effects if you've got ridges in the paint. You can skim the knife over the top and just catch on the top, which may be an effect you want, but I would recommend for this exercise, first time, do it in one go while it's all still wet.
Okay.
And are we doing it in your style, as in realism?
No, you can do it however you like. It's to be inspired by the natural world, the beauty of the natural world around us. I would suggest maybe try to make it a bit representative.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy, did you have a...
I did. I want to ask about the thin stick cut into a sharp point at one end.
Me too.
My next question too.
Well,
So how thin is thin? How long is the stick?
What's it for?
The basics.
And is it just to poke your husband?
what I'm going to suggest for you is that you use it right at the very end to sign your name in the paint at the bottom.
Oh.
Show the white. After each little stroke of each letter, or however you sign your name, wipe the stick, because it will have a bit of paint collected on it, and then use it for the next bit, wipe it. And with those colours that I've suggested, a red, a yellow, a blue and an earth colour, you can make almost any colour you need from those colours there. You must be bold, you must go for it, and you must not be frightened to use paint. It will use a lot more paint than you would generally use if you're using brushes. But the results will be worth it if you just get that paint on nice and thick and juicy and get it on the canvas. Squeeze. So I can't wait to see what you will do.
I know I'm already addicted and I haven't even started.
Hi there. So this is the collection of palette knives that I've managed to find that I own. So I am going to pick out a couple of different sizes and styles, and I think these are the ones I'll work with mostly, although I may have fun with some of these trendy ones depending on what I decide to paint. That is still up for debate as yet. I've got myself a 12-inch by 16-inch canvas that I'm going to create on, and I've found some really old oil paints that I've had for many years, and so I've got plenty of paint and I think I'm ready to go.
For Fiona's task, I proudly introduce my wonderful board displaying plenty of oil paint tubes. So I will start, of course, by selecting some of the colors. Here we are. I selected a big tube of titanium white, which is a neutral color. Then we have a cad medium red, ultramarine blue, and the cad yellow medium, and the burnt umber. I selected some large palette knives, and they are quite rigid, and I think I will be able to find out in my oil mess some flexible ones. I will work on a landscape coming from a picture which one of my colleagues at the office took some time ago of a Scottish landscape, and I really loved that picture.
Hi, it's Julie Rothwell here. I am about to start on Fiona's Bloomz on Tour challenge. So I've got my knives at the ready, I've got my canvas, and I've got this fabulous looking painting board that I've never ever used before. So let's see what happens. I've actually moved into the kitchen, so I hope it's not too echoey. I decided oil paints on the carpet in the other room probably weren't going to go down too well. So I've taken over the kitchen breakfast bar, and we'll see how we get on.
What do you think Fiona would make of these for oil paints? Now, I found some. Oh, that's what I'm after, titanium white. Yes! That means I don't need to buy any. Yay! So why do I have all these paints looking in this dreadful state? So when I'm painting with encaustic, we take the oil paint out. So somebody gave me these old paints and said they're a bit past it, but they're perfect for encaustic work. There we are, a little bit of trivia for you. Got all of my bits and pieces together, some papers, my list of things, my pointy stick, selection of knives. I'm sure these oil paints would be more to Fiona's liking. And then we will see what we will make with this little blank canvas.
So I've got my Alkyd oil paints ready, and I have a selection of knives that I've already got. I'll use the metal ones, not the plastic, as suggested by Fiona, and also I've got my canvas. So let's get started.
I have my oils. These are my main oils that I'm going with. These are the ones named. I don't have raw umber or burnt umber. Raw umber and burnt umber are kind of the earthy colours. These are kind of earthy, and I thought, well, I can mix them in anyway. My palette is basically this paper. It's is it like grease-proof paper type thing, which I can put my paints on. Palette knives, not brushes. I'm quite excited about that actually. I don't have much experience with painting and brushes anyway, so it makes no difference whether I'm giving them a new tool or not. So, and these are my pencils because I have yet to do my sketch, which I'm going to do next. Bluebell woods. Love bluebell woods. And I particularly love this picture. because it's got the path going through, and it's also got the trees in the foreground, the branches, which I love. But I really like the trees in the background of this other one. So I think I'm going to kind of meld them together. That's my idea anyway.
Had a go at mixing up a few colours, which was very interesting and quite different to working with acrylics, which I'm familiar with. And I guess here we go, let's see what happens. So here's the reveal of my finished piece for Fiona's task.
I really can't imagine anything more satisfying than mixing oils with the same tools that we are using to build our landscape painting, so that afterwards I will have my piles of color ready to have them mixed. Okay, I find that the process is amazing. I've always loved working with palette knife, and I've used them for a series of portraits that I did last year, but this case really I find that oils are so juicy, so yummy, and this stormy sky is quite finished. I'm afraid of ruining it. It's quite, into the lower part of the painting, and you will see that I'm trying to cover a large area with this mix of green. I think the right name is that, mixed with cadmium yellow. I have got still some more work to do, but I'm trying to cover all the canvas. It takes a lot of color.
Oh my word, Fiona, I've just come for a sit down. How you keep control of those paints with those knives, I honestly don't know. I thought I was going to jump right into this challenge and be no worries at all. And I am, oh look at me. I'm caked in paint, it's up my sleeves, it's everywhere. I'm just going to sit down and watch some of your YouTube videos for a while and see how you do it, because it is not. Okay, Fiona, how you manage to keep control of these paints, I really, really take my hat off to you. I think I was focusing on so much on how the oil paint went on and worked, I kind of lost sight of what it was that I was actually putting on and where. I don't know if you can see how thick it is. It's absolutely, I don't know how long it will take this to dry. There are layers and layers and layers of paint that I just ended up piling on top and on top. I just didn't know how to work it. And when I got a really nice passage that I was really happy with, I guarantee I'd knock the knife through it and smudge the whole thing.
Fiona's challenge. Goodness, I've not used oils before or actually painted with knives. What I chose was this pine forest that I visited in Findhorn in Scotland, and I was really astounded by the red pine needles that were on the ground. And I love fir trees. And it's from a photograph that I took, and I knew it would be difficult to capture, especially when I haven't painted a landscape. And using the knives was, oh my goodness, trying to get really straight lines with using a palette knife and not too much or too little paint on it was a task and a half. It took several attempts, but when they came to the actual trunks of the trees, using a palette knife was really difficult because they're quite small. I hadn't really got skilled with using the palette knife, but when it came to doing the bulk of the leaves, or the impression of the pine needles, I should say, I just loved doing that. That was really lovely. I think overall the needles of the trees could do with a bit more work, but otherwise, for a first go, I'm quite pleased with it.
So I'm starting Fiona's challenge today, and I'm using the Griffin Alkids oil paints that Fiona suggested. So I'm just gonna pop them on my leftover microwave paint from an old microwave to use as my board. So I've got titanium white, she said to use plenty of, alizarin crimson, oh, help I could say them right. I've got French ultramarine, I have a nice yellow, and I have a raw umber. So a very limited palette, but Fiona says we can make all the colours we need out of this, and I'm sure she's right. So let's get on with it. I'm really struggling with Fiona's task. How she keeps so clean, I don't know. I'm absolutely filthy on both hands. I've scraped back my painting twice already. I know what I'm painting, I've drawn it out, I've been there, I know what it feels like, I know what it sounds like. I will carry on because that's the point of this task. It is a challenge, and this really is a challenge for me.
So I'm just playing around with the paints a bit here. My palette, a few splodges of this, that and the other. I've got intimatry there. See, as always, I'll go in hand twisted and no idea what I'm doing. Got my very tiny twig from the garden, and I'm gonna just say carve my name in the tree.
Well, Fiona, your challenge, nature painted in oils. Why did you set this challenge to the girls?
Well, and don't forget, it's not just painting in oils, it's painting in oils with knives.
Yes.
It's rather different from painting with brushes. I just love using knives now. I hardly use brushes at all, generally speaking. And so that's the way that I work. And so that was my challenge to them, to try and work in the way that I do, the same as we've done for the other challenges. So I just find with knives and the oils, it's a physical thing as well. It's you know, the texture of the paint, the consistency, the mark making. I just find it so satisfying, and it's almost sensuous in some respects, you know, with the feel of the paint. And you know, I love the smell of oil paint as well. You know, for me, everything about oil painting is amazing. And I was just hoping that the others would catch some of that magic and enjoy it in the same way that I do. So.
Well, I think they were probably quite comfortable painting with oils until you said they had to do it with knives. And then I sort of sensed the alarm bells. So let's see how they did. Let's look at the first finished piece, which is our Australian animal watercolour artist, Cindy Port, over there in Melbourne. Let's see how Cindy did in this challenge. Tell us about this. What are your views on this, Fiona?
Cindy, obviously here, she's used such lovely, rich, vibrant colours, and her painting speaking to me about her native Australian landscape and the way that she's celebrating the colours of the nature there and the skies. And I love the texture that she's got in there. She's got some really nice marks made by the knives. On that, I would just say that it'd be really good to vary the strokes of the knife a little bit more. So maybe have some more broad sweeping strokes to contrast with the smaller marks. Maybe
the way she's done the tree.
Oh, that's worked really well. It's very believable. It's got those lovely layers. I think with the darks, maybe Cindy could have included a bit more colour in the darks. which you can do maybe by mixing the darks from other colours such as ultramarine, blue and raw umber, rather than possibly using a black, which it looks like she may have done. I may be wrong on that. And having said that, within that dark area there are some lighter marks to suggest the contours of the land and what's happening there, which is great. Is it a sunrise or is it a sunset? I think it's a sunset, but it could be a sunrise. And I think that's really nice that it's left for the viewer to choose, you know, what it may be as well. No animals in there. I know that was a challenge for Cindy not to have an animal in, but she's done it really well. I love the little bits of detail with the little grass or whatever they are on the horizon. To me they look like grass, and on the left hand side it just gives that little bit of detail to contrast with the broader marks of the sky and the land there. So really well done.
Brilliant. So that's the first one now. And now we're going now to look at Elisa Colangeli. She's our Italian artist. Elisa is a figurative artist, so she paints, she would say, the souls of females in her art. Very different to the challenge that you set. So let's have a look at Elisa's final piece.
This really speaks to me about, and it evokes a feeling of being in the mountain pastures below the rocky crags in the background there. And it's really got a lovely sense of place. I very much like the harmonious colour palette that she's used, with the soft blue greys used for the sky, which they're acting as a foil for accentuating the lively greens of the foreground, which we've got some lovely variations of sort of greens and browns in there. Elisa's handled the greens really well because they're not just green, you know, that she's mixed them and changed the colours to give interest there. There's a really good sense of distance and a slight air of maybe foreboding even with the darker hills. You know, is there a storm coming, or has it actually already been and passed into the distance there? She's got some nice broad marks in the sky there. At the top, they are contrasting with some of the more detailed marks lower down. It looks like there could maybe be a little bit more texture there, leave a bit, you know, a few more ridges and things just to give it a little bit more interest maybe. But it's again, another really lovely work, and I think she's done absolutely fantastically with it.
So now we go to another of our Bloomz artists who paints normally in a very different medium, which is encaustic wax. It's Julie Rothel from here in the UK. Now, Julie paints with wax, so let's have a look at Julie's final piece. So there we are. Now, I think I recognise it as somewhere down in Cornwall. Do you?
I believe it probably is, yes. Julie's home now, and I know that she loves Cornwall, and she's produced a painting here with a lot of energy. It's got some lovely unblended strokes of colours, like in the sky there. You can see that she's picked up paint and applied it without fully blending it on the palette first, so you get the variation in colours and tones. It's actually really captured so well the feeling of the coastline, and it's got a lot of movement in the water. And I think it shows a real love of the sea in this painting. The way that she's interpreted the sea surface and the reflections, you know, the reflections I think in the water are well handled, allowing for the disruption of by the active surface of the sea, which is disrupting the reflections. The textures are really good. There's some lovely, nice thick paint that you can see there, both in the sky, the rocks and the water. You know, that's working really well. The water's been depicted with shorter, choppier marks, which really sort of shows how breezy it is, and it's just broken up the surface of the water, which marries up with the reflections that she's done there. I think where she's got the structure there, that's what's drawing my eye, because it's got that area there has got the maximum contrast in the painting, the dark against the light. And so that's sort of creating a focal point there, which is virtually in the middle of the painting. Now, that's not normal or accepted sort of place to put your focal point, but it just still works as a composition. it's sort of wrong in technical terms, if you like, but it just really works for this painting. So she's pulled it off, and it's, again, another lovely painting.
Let's move on then to our next artist, which is Mac McGregor. Now, Mac is, she does many sorts of art. She's a visual artist, contemporary sculptor. She's certainly isn't an oil artist, although she has trained in fine art. So let's have a look at the piece that Mac came up with.
So Mac here has picked up on my love of trees, which often feature in my own work, and this forest scene, which it's got much more muted colours than the previous paintings, apart from Elisa's, but it's got again a gentle, harmonious palette. Looks rather like a pine forest with the trunks there and the little branches, which, you know, have just been suggested and work really well. Just little marks made without trying to be too detailed. I think one thing that might enhance the trunks even more is to have some shadow forms on them. So just on one side of the trunks, have a bit of shadow colour just to give a little bit of form, and also maybe some shadows across the path. You know, I like the way it is. I like the atmosphere it gives. The path draws your eye into the painting. One other little detail I would try and avoid, if possible, having the trees all in a straight line. For the painting's sake, it might be better if they'd just been a little bit more staggered. It's worked really well. Some lovely textures in there. You know, the different marks for the foliage of the trees versus the path. So yeah, I think Mac's done a really good job here as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's so difficult for these artists when it's not their normal medium. Let's move on then to our next artist, Sammy Hexter-Andrews. Let's have a look at Sam's offering. Now, Sammy doesn't work in oils at all. She's works in acrylics, maybe a little bit of oil she'd used in the past, I don't know. But here is Sammy's piece. Now then, another coastal scene.
This painting shows Sammy has really captured the power of the ocean in this work. You can sense that power of the water, you know, because the sea is beautiful and it's lovely to paddle in, whatever, but the power lying underneath those waves, so, you know, when you get a storm, is phenomenal. And I think that's coming across in this painting. I love the colours, the deep, rich blues, offset and enhanced by the less intense greys, which just makes the blue even more intense. Sammy has picked up some colours without fully blending them on the palette, which gives some nice, interesting interactions of the colour, especially in the sky and the water areas. Highlights to suggest the foam on the breakers. She's managed to get a horizon there without showing the horizon itself. It just goes from the sky into that dark into the water, which pushes the horizon back even further. You know, you can't see it because it's out there somewhere. Yeah, she's got good highlights on those breakers, and also you see the green colour underneath the breaker there. It's like that translucence of a wave that's coming up and breaking, so that's helping to give some form to the waves. We know that's a headland, we know that there are rocks there and some grass or foliage, but it's not been detailed, it's just been put down in a more abstract way. And also that, if you notice the strokes, the knife strokes on the rocks and that, they've been done in a different way from the sky and the water, which helps to distinguish it from the water rather than it all being the same sort of stroke across the whole painting. So again, using the knives to advantage there. Really good. I think Sammy should do some more.
Right, so we've only got one more to see, Fiona, and that is, again, a very different artist with a very different medium. That's Stephanie Lester. Now, Steph is a fibre sculptor, so she never has before dealt with painting of any description, whether it's oils, watercolours, but she has produced a piece here.
So, yes, I mean, what a wonderful, fresh spring colours in this. It's, just absolutely perfect for the bluebell woods that Steph's depicted here. And it's a really joyous painting. You can see, that Steph is loving this subject. We've got really nice variety of colours and marks on the trunks with different tones and colours, some shadows on the right hand sides of the trunks helping to give some form to the trees, which could have maybe had a few shadows going across the path from the trees there and onto the foliage from the trees as well, just to increase that effect a little bit more. I noticed that Steph has actually signed this by scratching into the paint, which is really good, and also some inscribed marks on the largest tree trunk nearer to us, which is something that I'd suggested that they use a small stick in their work. And I think this is something that could maybe have been exploited more by all the artists, in actual fact, to give added texture, or maybe even to create details like scratching in some tree branches, for example, which can reveal the white of the canvas underneath the paint, or different colours that have already been put down before the top colour. Trunks in the background are darker, pushing them further back, which helps to give more depth into the painting. And also the greens in the background are a little bit more subdued than in the foreground. Again, that helps to give a sense of depth to the painting. I think one thing I would like to say is the path just comes up and sort of disappears a little bit. I think Steph could have made a little bit more of that path, maybe have a curving couple of bends into the painting. Overall, fantastic job again. I was so excited to see these paintings and see what people had done. I couldn't wait, and I've not been disappointed. It's amazing. From not having done, well, I think most of them hadn't even touched oils before, certainly not with knives anyway. I think Julie had used oils before, but not with knives. So they've all risen to the challenge. They've gone for it. They've thrown themselves into it, and I'm really pleased to see on all of the paintings they've actually got the paint and just put it on, not put out a tiny bit of paint and make it spread as far as possible. It just doesn't work with knives, and I'm really pleased to see that they took that on board and used as much paint as they needed to get the effects that they were trying for.
Thank you very much, Fiona. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for setting the challenge for the Bloomz on Tour.
You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure and a privilege, and to see the work that they've done is just incredible.
Okay, so you've got your pictures ready to reveal. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, excellent. Wow.
Trees and seas.
Yes.
Sunset. Oh my God. Wow.
Look at those.
Ooh, amazing.
Wow.
Love it. Brilliant. Okay, so let's go round. Sammy, you're my first one up.
Oh. All right. Well, I found this task very difficult. I used the Alkyd oils, but then I got paranoid that if I went to the loo, they would dry hard and I wouldn't be able to do anything. So I sat there for just over or under 6 hours without going for a wee. I was panicked. I enjoyed doing this bit. This is at Tintagel. I took some photographs at Tintagel on a very grey day, but there was a little bit of light shining through, so I got it reflecting down here and through the cloud up there. Yeah, Philip came in and said, when are you going to finish it? And I've run out of time. So yeah, I don't think I'm an oil artist or landscape artist at all.
I would disagree with that.
I say it's lovely. I don't know. We're all so funny, aren't we? We're all so overcritical. Because I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And Philip, your husband, needs a slap. Just say.
Sammy, you've done so well with that. It is really lovely. And don't please say that you can't do oils, because you can. You've done it. You've produced a wonderful painting.
I think, like with the other tasks, I need to have a second round to see if I really am comfortable with the medium or not. But yeah, I just
they don't dry quite that quickly, so you could go to the toilet.
I'll know that for next time.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Well, on my screen, I'm next, so I'm gonna just. Okay, so this is me. So I didn't do the really fast drying. I did that they won't be dry till middle of next year ones. And mine was the bluebell woods, because I love bluebell woods. So and I struggled so much, because all I kept thinking was, Fiona kept saying, don't be frightened of using paint, so I just kept adding more and more paint. But then it was getting the perspective, and what I really wanted to do is try and bring these into the foreground, and I just didn't manage to do it. And I felt like as I was adding, I was kind of, it was detracting and taken away. So that was the bit where I thought I really didn't get what I wanted to do there. But the rest of it, you're so exhausted, aren't you? It's actually, because sitting down and doing it all, I'm so exhausted. I went away thinking, oh God. And Steve said, well, I don't know what you're on about. It's great. And when I came back the next day, I thought, no, I have achieved what I wanted to do. I can see it's a bluebell wood. So, job done. And actually, I did enjoy it. It was just frightening to use such a completely new medium, and once again, like with Julie's task, I definitely would need to get some instruction, because basically I just watched your videos, Fiona, and saw how you were adding with the palette, and thought, right, okay, I'll try and sort of imitate that a bit. But you then realised that yes, Fiona's had a bit more practice. So so it was my very first attempt. I was my bluebell wood. So okay, next one on my list is Julie.
Okay.
Oh, I guess you did the sea.
Yeah, I decided to do the sea. I really struggled with this. I thought getting the paint on with the knife, I thought I'd be, no problem, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And it was not as easy as that. And I also made a bit of a fatal error in that I decided to just adjust the colours in the sky a little bit, which then messed up my reference photo was I was kind of going part from my photo and part from my head, and that I got to a bit of a muddle with that for sure as well, with the new medium as well. So I kind of thought I'd do a bit of the encaustic and wing it as I went, and then I realised that no, that's really not working. And I don't know how much paint it's so thick with paint. It took ages to dry, and how you keep so clean. My God, I had it up my arms, up my face. It's still,
and that was just when I was mixing the paints.
It's still down there now. I saw another bit that I had missed cleaning up the other day. So I mean, I did enjoy it, but I really found it much harder than than I'd expected it to be, for sure. And there are parts of it I quite like, but the reflections are wrong in my head. From what I was trying to paint to what I physically came up with are two quite different things. But it was an interesting process.
I think you've done really, really well with it, Julie, and I love the textures that you've got in there as well. That's really nice. That's exploiting the medium and the the method of applying it to get those lovely textures. And like with Steph and yours, you're artists, you don't have to follow the photograph exactly, as you know. So, you've changed it to be how you saw it in your head, and that's great. I love it. It's really interesting as well to see the sizes that you've worked as well. So, yeah.
That was my attempt. This viewed in Cornwall, local beach down the road.
Lovely. Okay, Mac, you're next.
Oh.
Wow.
So
So
tell
is
us.
that an actual place? Was it a photograph or was it?
It was based on a photograph, yes. It's in Finhorn, and I just love it. And it's pine forest, and it just is beautiful there. And their red paths, I mean, literally it was red. I really struggled to, this is a small frame, and I wish I'd done bigger, because trying to get those trunks done with a quillet knife was really difficult.
You can feel the atmosphere of that forest, the peacefulness of it. Brilliant. Love the colours as well. The complementaries of the red and the green really make it sing.
Thank you.
Okay, Cindy.
Hey.
Oh. Colourful.
Stunning.
I like colour.
Yeah.
So I so wanted to include an animal. I so wanted to include an animal.
Is it in the tree?
Yeah.
I thought, you know, if I do a sunset, then I can do just a silhouette, right? So not so difficult with a palette knife. This was my thoughts on choosing what subject to paint, right? Until I did the sunset and then tried to do the tree. That's why there's no animal. I struggled so much just getting the tree in there that there's no animal, because
that's amazing.
If I had picked up a brush and had a go, maybe. But sticking to the palette knife thing, no way in hell. Oh my goodness, yeah. And my biggest issue was making sure I didn't get complete mud everywhere. Like, that was a whole new challenge for me with the oils. Never have a problem with acrylics ever, or watercolors. I don't have a problem, but like, there are a couple of spots here where the color is not quite as I intended, shall we say politely. It doesn't stand out too much, but I know it's there, and I know that wasn't what I was going for. And that's because, I was, definitely a whole new way to go about painting, like quite different to fast drying acrylics or anything like that, that's for sure. So, but thank you, Fiona. It was a challenge, that's for sure.
Well, I think you've all risen to that challenge so well. It's brilliant. I was so excited to see all these works and not been disappointed at all.
Okay, I'm going to share Elisa's with us now. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Wow.
One with lots of text.
Hasn't it?
I would say it was very Italian.
Mm.
The Dolomites or something, is it?
There's a gorgeous feel to it.
Yeah.
Lovely colours as well again.
Yes.
Get lost in it, can't you?
A bit like the other challenges, you can really tell who did which piece as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've followed the task, but you've put your own stamp on each work, which is lovely.
Yeah, I guess that is a really nice thing about art full stop, though, isn't it? It's just we all come through, which regardless, all given the same task, all completely different.
Yeah.
I've been surprised at how much we've all, our own style has basically come through, even following like tasks, following the way the tasks were set to be fun, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Lovely. So, oils and palettes.
Oils and knives.
It was the knives that I just didn't expect to be, as Cindy said, with the drawing an animal, just trying to get that barrel. You would just think you go choo, choo, choo.
Yeah.
An hour. Umpteen wipe-offs. Oh, it's just,
Right? Yeah.
So I was quite pleased about my trees with the straight trunks. Because I could go, oh, right.
I would be very selective on my subject matter if I did another one.
If I did another one with knives, yeah, me too. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Lovely. So,
Who's going to give it another go?
Oh no, I'll give it another go.
yeah, I'm
Just,
definitely.
I'll know I can go to the bathroom.
Coming up next time on the Bloomz on Tour.
So, my task is for you to create a piece of abstract art the same way that I create a piece of abstract art. That's with an essay. Yep, it's not all about throwing paint at the canvas. So, your title is If Music Be the Food of Love, Play On. And your piece of inspiration is your most favourite piece of music.